Welcome back to the Dave's Diary series of workshop videos. Just heading back out to the workshop. I'll have to apologise if I cough because I've got a bit of a inhalation of some dust just before. And anyway, I am back out here and I've just planed off the first clashing strip and it's gone really well. But what I wanted to cover, and in fact, look at the joint. You can't even see the joint. Why aren't they all like that? And I've got no actual answer for that, but that was a very nice joinery, cabinetry grade join. So well done me on this one, because some of them, well, they're okay. They're perfect for out in the workshop, but if you saw a bit of furniture with that sort of join, you'd be kind of thinking twice about who did that. But that's absolutely 100% spot on. Now, I didn't use a trim bit, a router trim bit. I planed it by hand, hence all the nice shavings on the ground, which I'm actually collecting, anticipating grabbing a couple of strawberry plants, and I can use that to protect the plants, etc. So anyway, not treated, nice native timber, Remu, that we have here. But I had a 3-step process. I did actually use my electric planer for one bit because there was quite an extensive, quite a high bit of timber that I wanted to trim down. Didn't use it for much, just as well, because it's really easy to make a mistake with that thing. But I had a 3-stage process. My long plane, or longish plane, a number 5, and then I had a block plane, which I really need to replace because the part of the pin or the slide is actually broken, so very hard to adjust. You have to tap it with a hammer or stick. So I'd start off with that, hog into the most part of the strip, the clashing strip, and then I'd use the block plane to go along and just get it down to where I could barely feel a lip of the timber itself. And in doing so, I would quite often have the angle of the blade or the plane like I've got there. It also means I can easily wrap my fingers underneath it and act as a guide for which part of the blade is cutting the smoothest, or as well as or as, how would you say, the plane blade isn't exactly square, so when it cuts, sometimes the left or right side of the plane blade is the bit that's doing the cutting. Anyway, keeping a paring angle to the timber makes for a very nice cut, and it's not cutting in too sharply to some of the grain, which just along here is a bit questionable. It doesn't go that way, it doesn't come this way, it just wants to grab the plane blade, so it's not so good. So the finishing cuts, and this was exactly the reason I bought this plane, my tiny little plane, and it performed perfectly. And again, I use it in a paring action. I don't know what angle the plane blade is, but it's very, very low. But I have this plane, again, held in the same sort of paring angle, and with my fingers wrapped around the edge to locate the blade nicely, because after all, it's so small that an angle like that uses the whole blade up. So, and I can just run along and let the plane grab the timber where it can, because we are, after all, running flush on the melamine. This is nothing, there's no rocket science in what I'm talking about. Those that do this sort of work, or even thinking about it, have, they understand what I'm saying. But I'm just covering off because of this little plane. And I just peer along. You can just feel it grabbing, so you know that the low angle of attack for the blade and the angle, etc., is just taking that last little bit off. So that's great. The next reason I got this plane, that was the main reason, just doing that, is I can easily run along and take a gossamer thick, well, you probably can't even see it, but oh, you might be able to, but ever so slight cut off that arrow. Oh, it feels so nice. Anyway, I'll be taking some more off, but it's just a really nice size plane to have in your hand. I'm just using my finger to locate, and I'm kind of guessing that it's about a 45-degree angle, and away I go down the length of the timber. And because it's such a nice little plane, it's easy to control. There's no weight to it that you're worrying about. So that was beautiful, and the feeling, oh, that's lovely. I'll be putting a bigger bevel on it, just that I'm quite impressed with this little plane. I think I made a video the other day, and I may well have deleted it. It was a good video, except I'd been out in the garden, as I'm often do, even on the way out to the workshop, might do a bit of weeding, and I had dirty fingernails. And, you know, like a builder doesn't normally worry about that, but God, when you see it in a video, it just looks hideous. So I deleted the damn thing. So I felt a little bit self-conscious, I've got to say. But that's quite often the case. If you see that, well, it's because dirty fingernails is because I've been out to the damn garden. We've got half an acre here, and half an acre grows a lot of weeds, I've got to say. Place is looking particularly tidy at the moment because coming out to the workshop, I go out into the garden. Anyway, made a wee video of this, describing the function of it. The cost, I can't remember. It was not expensive. In fact, when I went onto the website, I was intending to get a replacement one of these, which I still might do, because of the issues I've got. We've got two block planes, neither work in the manner I would like, but the price of a good one is not cheap, and I may well just buy it here in New Zealand if the price is not too silly. Anyway, I saw this one and I thought, it looks more of a toy than a tool, but it isn't. It is a lovely bit of kit. The one thing though, that if you have seen it and also wondering about it, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it. So I've got no connections to any company or tool, producer at all. But this, I wouldn't hesitate to buy again. But its use also has to be a little bit considered. Make sure that before you start to adjust the blade with this little screw at the back, that you fully disengage this screw. Then adjust it, then tighten it back again. Because the only way that this actually locates, in position, in and out, is by a circlip that goes in the tiniest of grooves for it to locate properly and clip on. And any pressure on this screw means that when you wind this one, you're very likely to pop the circlip off. So you could say that's a bit of a reason not to buy it, but tell you what, even knowing that, I'd buy another one of these. So that's always my standard. Would I buy it again? And yes, I would. So that was one little issue that I'd come up with, and it was really fiddly to get back on. Probably, I don't know how long it took. In reality, probably 10 minutes. But my poor old fingers, they've been abused over the years, in the building trade and in the workshop. So some of the feeling sensation ain't what it once was, I can tell you that. That's what happens when you drill into it with drills and hit it with sledgehammers and break the bones and what have you. So, yeah, we do these things to ourselves. But lovely bit of kit. Wouldn't hesitate to buy that one again. Now, the other thing was, yesterday, and I don't know whether I've kept the video or not, but I talked about wanting or having to laminate these melamine sheets together to make up the top. So it's 218mm, making a 36mm top. I also want to do that to the verticals. A little bit less demand in the verticals because after they're set in place, basically there's no load on them. And to be fair, if there was a problem, I'd just put a screw in it because it's in a workshop. But if I can go through the process and learn better ways, using better products, then even though it's a workshop situation, not demanding the finish, it pays to go through that process and learning, period. So, and I said about gluing it together. Well, I've got my glue that I'm using for the clashing strip. Very happy for that. Well priced, and it's an aliphatic PVA glue, so better than an ordinary PVA glue. But everyone knows that all white glues are PVA. Yeah, okay. Make a comment like that and back it up, why don't I? Well, I'm not. But these are the glues that I use. There's only 3. So we've got the Gorilla Glue. It's just a PVA glue because it says so. This one here, does it say PVA? I haven't got my glasses on, but it's the one that I use virtually all the time. Sally's Aqua here. You can get an interior, exterior. I just grabbed the exterior because why not? And it proves to work very well. And this is one I always have in the back of my van. And then I'd get Weld Bond. Of course, it's PVA glue, isn't it? Well, you squeeze it out and it's white and it's glue, so it's got to be PVA. However, I'm going to suggest that those 3 aren't created equal. And it's a bit like the Type Bond that you see people using. In particular, in America, they've got Type 1, 2 and 3 or something, whatever. It's difficult to get here in New Zealand. You can, but it's difficult to get. Whereas these ones are the ones that are readily available, a selection, 3, that you can get at the local merchants. I've used this virtually all of my building career. This one, all one's very similar. I've used the aliphatic PVA, which is a better, it's a better PVA version than just ordinary PVA. So I went and tried to, and I knew I was going to have a problem, that's why I did the test. I went and used the this one, the Soudal, whatever you want to call it, glue, with the melamine surface. Works perfectly for the timber to custom wood, but melamine, I was thinking, it's a closed cell surface. How will the glue work? Well, I can tell you now, badly. In fact, what happened, because it's closed cell, there was no, and I'm no chemist or experienced with this in this area, but there is no way for the glue to kind of absorb and dry or catalyze to make that nice adhesion surface, the gluing it together. Clamped it 24 hours, 48 hours, that just kept on. When I unclamped it and I would move it, it would just slide off and the glue was still wet. So that was a failure. If it doesn't do its thing by going off, but gluing, not crystallizing, but catalyzing in 48 hours, I'm not going to wait. So it was always I just proved my theory that these wouldn't work. Because of what this says on the label, this may not be simply a PVA glue, of course, and that's why I made the comment right at the beginning, because I'll have people going, "Oh no, that's not really PVA." You know, you get those people that do know and like to let you know. But whatever product this is, and let's just say it's a really good PVA glue of whatever type, I tried that on the melamine because, whoops, dropping it. Because if I just go grab my glasses, it says on the label, and we all believe what it tells us, it is weld bond, wood, tile, glass, foam, stone, ceramics, and more. Wow, bonds most anything. Dries crystal clear, permanent and flexible. You go, oh, what more could I ask? Now, I know this is available in a lot of countries because I see people occasionally using it. So, if it can stick glass, well, that's impervious. Metal, well, that's impervious for moisture. It must work for this, should it not? Pausing for dramatic effect. Yes, and sort of. Well, what actually happened is I popped a couple of pieces together like this, clamped it, waited about an hour, 2 hours, because after all, on the back it says drying time. First hint, I got it wrong. Drying time up to 1 hour, longer for non-porous items. Okay, that was the second thing I forgot about. Cures in 24 hours for most materials. Right. Cures was the word I was looking for before when I was saying catalyse. But anyway, I popped the two items together, came back out, went to move them. Oh, here's a little bit. Oh, and it slid off. I thought, bugger. Didn't work. That was after about 2 hours. Well, I clamped them together, and then I clamped at exactly the same time I clamped this together. I came out this morning, moved the first one because it didn't really have the a good film on it from my first attempts to test it and where it failed, and it just slid off again. I'm like, good, that's not very good. Then I got this one, which had the same period of time to cure, and it ain't moving. So I'm not saying it's not, if I cut it, could I then push a smaller panel off of it, a small piece, and that the glue inside is wanting, not perfectly cured, but it ain't moving. And the beauty of that is it's a thin film building adhesive, because I do have an alternative. I'm just grabbing my micrometers. I do have an alternative which I would go to if this didn't work, and that's a Sally's. No, it's not a Sally's product. It's a Seeker product called 11FC, and that's an adhesive sealant, and it's one I've been using for, I'd hate to think how long, but a long time, because I started using it when I saw a plumber using it to glue down the toilet pan onto ceramic tiles, and I'm thinking, oh, if it's good enough for that, it should be adequate for my purposes, and it always has been. So it's the one I still use to this day. In fact, if you went into the back of the van right now, you'd see some containers or tubes of it, or sausages of it. So anyway, the reason I said about thin film building adhesive is these are two 18mm, and so that would be 36, and I've got 0.2 of a mil film in there, so it's 36.2 there or thereabouts, meaning it's exactly what I wanted. I can now use the weld bond where weld bond is best suited for gluing the melamine panels together, but carry on using my wood glue for these edge clashing strips. And after all, the wood glue for that says, and we all believe what's on the label, strongly bonds MDF, yep, pine, and ply. Ah, excellent. Formulated for New Zealand native timbers. Ha! That's what I'm using. Remu. Ideal for face edge. Face and edge joinery. That's kind of what I'm doing there. Heat and water resistant. Pretty cool. So, great product. Don't use for gluing melamine surfaces together. Great product. The one I use 90% of the time. As I said, in fact, if you went out to my work van now, you'd probably find a container of that in there, or one similar. This one isn't. It's more expensive, but man, it's exactly what you need when you're doing those jobs. So one glue isn't going to do it for me. I'm not going to use that where I need bulk glue or lots of like this. Too expensive. Went to do that already. I've gone through a few of those. Oh, that's expensive. This or this, fine for what we've got here. So I'm very happy with that outcome. That bottle there is, I think, about the same price or more than that one there. So that's a litre of glue there. That's 160 mils. So you can see the pricing difference. It's no sense to use weld bond for here, in other words. But for that, brilliant. So yeah, that's the outcome. Really, the benefit of that little addition to the Dave's Diary series is not all products are available in all countries or areas. The tight bond, because it's used so often and gets such a good critique from the users, that's all well and fine. So I went to find it and don't have it. I am darn sure you used to be able to get it at our merchants, so I thought maybe they've done a deal with the suppliers, and now they're using a different supplier other than the tight bond ones. So I went to other merchants, the main 4 here in Christchurch, and none of them had it. And it was only available through a distributor from Auckland, and which is not just round the corner from where I live, I can tell you. So I thought, I only want to use glues that are really available. These have always been available. I think this one's got rebranded. But these are the ones that are readily available and not tight bond. So can't use tight bond, can I? Even if it does work. But would it work as well as this? I've seen tests where this was used against tight bond. And I can't remember whether it was tight bond 3 or not. I don't know. But it fared pretty darn good. In fact, it might have been better in the particular application. This one, if I had a choice and money was not an issue, I'd still use this. Why? Because you're not gaining any benefit from using the more expensive one, regardless. So price not being an issue, I'd still probably use this. There isn't, as I said, there's no benefit from using the better product, you could say. So, yeah. Okay, that's it. Cup of tea time, I think. Like that outcome, very much like the join on that. I bet you that they are not all like that. Here's the thing too, that join was directly off of the track saw blade. So that's why I was quite impressed with it, and it clamped up very well and came out nicely. I've only got a few more to do, but they won't take too long, and then I can then start looking at gluing up the clashing strips over here for those 2 panels there. That darker one doesn't need it because it's actually the back panel. Anyway, you needed to not know that. Anyway, I'll get on. I've got to go have my cup of tea. Okay, see you later now. Bye.